Good afternoon, children. In today's class, we learn the lesson from the diary of Anne Frank. This is a photo of Anne Frank's diary. It is her own handwriting. You can see her pictures pasted on the pages of the diary. She named her diary as Kitty. Anne Frank was born on 12th June 1929 and she died in the month of March 1945. By birth, she was a German. She was born in Frankfurt, Germany, and she lived there till 1933. And later on, they moved to Amsterdam, the Netherlands. And coming to Anne Frank's parents, her father's name is Otto Frank and mother's name is Edith Frank. Otto Frank was a German businessman who fought in the German army during World War I. And later on, Mr. Frank had decided to move his family to Amsterdam in the Netherlands when anti-Jewish laws allowed for attacks on Jewish individuals and their families. That means when Hitler tried to kill Jews and he had implemented some strong anti-Jewish laws where Jews had lost their freedom at that time. To save his family from all these Nazis, Mr. Otto Frank had decided to move his family to the Amsterdam. And coming to Edith Frank, we did not have many details about Edith Frank because our main protagonist Anne Frank was very close to her father, and she did not have that much good relation with her mother. And Edith Frank was a normal housewife, and she had two daughters. So the elder one is Margot and the younger one is our Anne Frank. And Edith died in the concentration camp 20 days before the camp was liberated. And this is the photo of Margot Frank, the one and only sister of Anne Frank. And Margot was really a very bright and accomplished student. She had very good relation with all her friends and classmates. And the main reason for the family to get into hiding was Margot, because out of all family members, there was a first deportation received from the local Gestapo for Margot. That means Margot was ordered to report to the local work camp to work in the camp. Once you enter into the concentration camp, that means your life is end. So then immediately our Otto Frank had decided not only to save Margot, to save the entire family, they went into the hiding. The immediate next day, the entire family went into hiding. And this is Frank's house. That means when they were in a leading normal life in Amsterdam, they used to stay here. They lived here until July 5th, 1942. And this is a view of the building where they hid themselves for almost 2 years. In the bottom photo, you can see a building with highlighted in blue color was the main building. The front side, Otto Frank's office used to work. That was the Otto Frank's office building. Front rooms, office was running, and the back rooms they used to live. And at the back side of that particular office building had a small park. So they used the residents who were in the hiding, they used to cover all windows with black curtains so nobody can notice the movement inside the building. In that way they managed for almost 2 years. And in the front side they used to have a bookcase, and behind the bookcase they used to have the secret door. So the people who used to help them, they used to remove this bookcase and they used to provide food, groceries, medicine, whatever are the requirements for these members, they used to provide through this secret door. And another important person in Annie's life or the story in this was Mepgis. She was a receptionist in Mr. Otto Frank's, Mr. Frank's office, and she and her husband, along with few other friends who were actually Dutch citizens, but they wanted to help. They were against to this Jews prosecution. These people, they actually helped all these 8 members who were hidden in the building. And coming to the lesson, on her 13th birthday, Annie Frank's parents gave her a diary. She was so excited because till that time she felt that she did not have a true or real friend with whom she can share all her secrets, thoughts, and everything. So when she received a diary, she felt that she can write anything and everything about her life, which includes her daily events, thoughts, school grades, boys, etc. And she named it as Kitty. But after within a month, her entire life had changed because they went into hiding. So in the first part, as I mentioned to you, the lesson was divided into 3 parts. In the first part, she explains why diary was so important for her, and why did she think the diary is a true friend. In the second part, she gives brief description of her family, and in the third part, she mentions the life incidents in the school and with her particular math teacher called Mr. Keesing. So, paper has more patience than people. I thought of this saying on one of those days when I was feeling a little depressed and was sitting at home with my chin in my hands, bored and listless, wondering whether to stay in or go out. I finally stayed where I was, brooding. Yes, paper does have more patience. And since I'm not planning to let anyone else read this stiff backed notebook, grandly referred to as a diary, unless I should ever find a real friend, it probably won't make a bit of difference. So one day when she was in a little dull mood, and she was in a dilemma whether to go out or stay inside, she was thinking about her friends and all, and she was feeling that paper has more patience than people, and she was thinking, is it true or not? And then finally she decided that yes, definitely, because it listens to whatever we say to it and it never utters a single word. And she decided to stay back and write the diary because she felt that till that time she did not have any real friend. Now I'm back to the point that prompted me to keep a diary in the first place. I don't have a friend. She strongly believes that she doesn't have a friend. Here a friend means not a normal friend. She had many friends, but she talks about having a real friend. Let me put it more clearly. Since no one will believe that a 13-year-old girl is completely alone in the world, and I'm not. I have loving parents and a 16-year-old sister, and there are about 30 people I can call friends. I have a family, loving aunts, and a good home. No, on the surface, I seem to have everything except my one true friend. All I think about when I am with friends is having a good time. I can't bring myself to talk about anything but ordinary everyday things. We don't seem to be able to get any closer, and that's the problem. Maybe it's my fault that we don't confide in each other. In any case, that's just how things are. And unfortunately, they're not liable to change. This is why I have started the diary. So, in this particular paragraph, she mentions that when somebody looks at me, they can see that I have a very beautiful and loving family, father, mother, and a sister, and I have very good family members, aunts, uncles, grandparents, and all, and also whom I can call, friends, like almost 30 members are there, good neighbors, and I should be a happy-go-lucky girl. But inside of me, I know that I don't have a real friend, because the friends whoever are there with me are the family members or the relatives with and all. I can share normal things, but I cannot tell tell them my intimate feelings, whatever inside my mind. I don't get any closer to any of them. That is, it could be, my problem. It's not that they are not able to understand me. It could be my problem. So these things will not change at all. So I have only one option. I have to rely on diary. So that's the reason I started the diary. To enhance the image of this long awaited friend in my imagination, I don't want to jot down the facts in this diary the way most people would do, but I want the diary to be my friend, and I'm going to call this friend Kitty. So she had imagination of a real friend, a good friend with whom she can tell everything, each and everything, whatever was in her mind. So she had an imagination of the friend, but she was not getting that friend. So she made the diary as her real and true friend. So she was telling that not like other people who write a daily boring, diary notes. I'm going to make it very different. I'm not going to write, jot down the facts like a normal people, but I'm really going to treat this diary as my real friend. So I'm going to call this diary as my friend Kitty. Thank you. Good evening, children. In today's class, we continued the lesson from the diary of Annie Frank. In this part, Annie is going to talk about her family members because she feels the necessity of giving the introduction of her family uh, because she is going to start the diary, and if somebody reads the diary, it's very, very important to know about her family. That is Annie's opinion. So she writes like this: since no one would understand a word of my stories to Kitty, if I were to plunge right in, I would better provide a brief sketch of my life, much as I dislike doing so. So she says that I should give direct introduction because Kitty is my friend, and if suddenly I started talking about everything, then if new person they needs new people, they need some kind of introduction. So Kitty is also kind of my new friend, and if directly I start telling about my present life, Kitty won't be able to understand. And also at the same time, if somebody reads it, those people also won't be understand. Actually here basically she feels Kitty as her real friend. So she feels Kitty as a real friend, so she feels that Kitty should understand her stories. So she is going to talk about the family, and she also tells that she doesn't like to talk about the family, but she wants them to know. My father, the most adorable father I have ever seen, didn't marry my mother until he was 36 and she was 25. My sister Margot was born in Frankfurt in Germany in 1926. I was born on 12 June 1929. I lived in Frankfurt until I was 4. My father emigrated to Holland in 1933. My mother, Edith Hollander Frank, went with him to Holland in September, while Margot and I were sent to Aachen to stay with our grandmother. Margot went to Holland in December, and I followed in February, when I was plunked down on the table as a birthday present for Margot. So she says that her father was a wonderful father she has never seen, because she had a very good relationship with her father, and she used to like her father so much. So she tells that her father and mother got married when father was 36 years old and mother was 25 years old. And Margot was born in Frankfurt, Germany in the year 1926. And she was born on 12 June 1929. And in this paragraph, she also tells us that she lived in Frankfurt, Germany till she was 4 years old. Then later, for the safety of the family, Otto Frank had decided to move to Holland in the year 1933 when Annie was 4 years old. So first Otto Frank and her mother Edith Frank, these two members, they went to Holland to settle down over there. So in the meantime, they left their two kids, Margot and Annie, with Edith's mother in Aachen. And after they got settled down, same year in the month of September, first they took Margot to Holland. And the next year, Annie went on the birthday of her sister Margot. I started right away at the Montessori nursery school. I stayed there until I was 6, at which time I started in the first form. In the sixth form, my teacher was Mrs. Cupers, the headmistress. At the end of the year, we were both in tears as we said a heartbreaking farewell. So as soon as she went to Holland, she got admission. She was admitted into the Montessori nursery school, and till she gained 6 years age, she studied there. Then she started the first form. First form means here first class, and she studied in the same school till sixth form. That means sixth class. And when she was in sixth grade, her teacher was Mrs. Cupres, and she was the headmistress of the school also. And Annie says that she had a very wonderful relation with her teacher. And at the end of the sixth year, sixth grade, when she was supposed to join a different school or she was supposed to leave that particular place, the reason was not given. Both teacher and student were in tears. They didn't want to, leave each other. That much good bonding they had with each other. And in the summer of 1941, Grandma fell ill and had to have an operation. So my birthday passed with little celebration. Grandma died in January 1942. No one knows how often I think of her and still love her. This birthday celebration in 1942 was intended to make up for the other, and Grandma's candle was lit along with the rest. So she was saying that 1941, her birthday was not celebrated lavishly because her grandmother was sick and she needed an operation. So they did not celebrate it lavishly. But unfortunately, grandmother could not survive. She died in the month of January 1942. So that year's birthday was celebrated to compensate last year's birthday also. That means they celebrated it very well. The four of us are still doing well, and that brings me to the present date of 20 June 1942 and the solemn dedication of my diary. So now she's saying today is 20th June 1942, and as of now we all four are very well, and now I'm going to write my diary. So she gave a brief introduction of herself, her family to Kitty. So Saturday 20th June 1942. So these incidents happened on that day. So Annie had written like this: Dearest Kitty, our entire class is quacking in its boots. The reason, of course, is the forthcoming meeting in which the teachers decide who will move up to the next form and who will be kept back. Half the class is making bets. Gian and I laugh ourselves silly at the two boys behind us, Cian and Jacques, who have staked their entire holiday savings on their bet. From morning to night, it's "You're going to pass?" "No, I'm not." "Yes, you are." "No, I'm not." Even G's pleading glances and my angry outbursts can't calm them down. If you ask me, there are so many dummies that about a quarter of the class should be kept back. But teachers are the most unpredictable creatures on earth. In this paragraph, Annie was giving the description of that particular day in the school. So in that, she's saying that everybody were tensed in the classroom because they're going to get the result from their teachers about who are supposed to get promoted to the next class and who are supposed to be retained in the same class. So here in one particular bench, Annie was sitting with another friend whose name in short form she mentioned as GN, and just behind them there were two boys whose name she mentioned as CN and Jacques. So all are tensed, but they were trying to behave normally. And this Sheehan and Jacques are more tensed, and they were having continuous bet, keeping the money what they saved during the holidays. And they were having bets like, you are going to pass, no, I'm not going to pass, like that. This is a little disturbing Annie and her friend Gian. So these two were looking at them in two different ways. Gian was looking at them very pleadingly, requesting them, please stop that. Annie was looking at them very angrily, stop it, in that way, but they are not bothered. So Annie was saying, in case if you ask me who should pass, then I would say 1/4, 1/4 of my class are dummies. They don't know anything. They should not be passed. But these teachers are unpredictable creatures. That means we cannot predict all these teachers. They might pass everybody or they might fail everybody. So we don't know what is going to happen. I am not so worried about my girlfriends and myself. We will make it. The only subject I am not sure about is maths. Anyway, all we can do is wait. Until then, we keep telling each other not to lose heart. So she's saying that, I'm not worried about all my friends who are girls and myself. We will definitely pass. But I'm little worried about maths because I'm not good at maths. But can we do anything? No, we can't do anything. So what we can do is we just have to wait, and we are telling each other not to worry, not to lose heart. I get along pretty well with all my teachers. There are 9 of them, 7 men and 2 women. Mr. Keesing, the old fogey who teaches maths, was annoyed with me for ages because I talked so much. After several warnings, he assigned me extra homework, an essay on the subject, a chatterbox. A chatterbox, what can you write about that? I would worry about that later, I decided. I jotted down the title in my notebook, tucked it in my bag, and tried to keep quiet. So, in this paragraph, she is going to introduce about a particular teacher called Mr. Keesing. He is a maths teacher, and Annie had a little problem with the teacher. So she's saying that I have very good relation with all my teachers. I have total 9 teachers, 7 are men and 2 are women. But my maths teacher, he is a little annoyed with me because I talk so much. I'm a talkative girl. So Mr. Keesing had given so many warnings, but she did not hear. So finally, as a punishment, he gave an extra homework. So what is the homework? He asked her to write an essay on a topic called a chatterbox. So she was very worried, but she decided, I will think about it later. So she noted down the topic and she kept it inside, and she tried to be calm. That evening, after I had finished the rest of my homework, the note about the essay caught my eye. I began thinking about the subject while chewing the tip of my fountain pen. Anyone could ramble on and leave big spaces between the words, but the trick was to come up with convincing arguments to prove the necessity of talking. I thought and thought, and suddenly I had an idea. I wrote the 3 pages Mr. Keesing had assigned me and was satisfied. I argued that talking is a student's trait and that I would do my best to keep it under control, but that I would never be able to cure myself of this habit since my mother talked as much as I did, if not more, and that there is not much you can do about inherited traits. So, in this particular para, we will come to know about the writing skills of Annie. How can she think and how can she write? because in the first paragraph we learned about the punishment given to her. So in that particular scenario, a normal person, just for formality, they try to write something on that topic. Generally, a normal student would leave spaces between each and every sentence and would write very big letters in a bigger size, and they would leave space between each and every word because the homework was for 3 pages. So somehow, if a normal student try to do that in this way, just do it for a formality, but our Annie was different. She wanted to prove that she was right. She was right as a talkative student in the school. So she took it very seriously. She thought, and she came up with certain arguments. What are those arguments? First argument is, she says that talking is a student's right, it's a trait. Students must, they should talk. But I will try to keep it in my control. But I cannot keep myself in control because it's a kind of disease which I inherited from my mother. Why? Because my mother is a talkative person. She talks as much as I talk. So I got it from my mother, and it an inherited trait. It cannot be cured. So here she tried to prove that she was right in talking. So this is how we come to know about her writing skills. Thank you. Good afternoon, children. In today's class, we continued the lesson from the diary of Annie Frank. Mr. Keesing had a good laugh at my arguments, but when I proceeded to talk my way through the next lesson, he assigned me a second essay. This time it was supposed to be on an incorrigible chatterbox. I handed it in, and Mr. Keesing had nothing to complain about for 2 whole lessons. However, during the third lesson, he had finally had enough. Annie Frank, as punishment for talking in class, write an essay entitled "Quack, Quack, Quack," said Mistress Chatterbox. So, as part of her first punishment, she wrote an essay on Chatterbox, and when she submitted it to Mr. Keesing, he just he laughed at all her arguments. All her arguments means the reasons what she mentioned in the Chatterbox essay for about her talkativeness made him laugh. He enjoyed the essay, but he did not allow her to talk because she thought, sir laughed. He agreed with the arguments, so he would allow her to talk. He did not allow. And again, so he gave another punishment as an essay, which was titled as an incorrigible chatterbox. Incorrigible chatterbox means something that cannot be corrected. I mean, very bad. A chatterbox, or very naughty chatterbox it was. She did her best and she submitted that essay. And this time he was pleased with that essay more than the first essay, and he was able to control his anger during the classes when she used to talk. And it continued for the next 2 lessons. But after 2 lessons, when the third lesson was going on, Mr. Keesing could not control his anger, and he asked Annie to write another essay with the title called "Quack, Quack, Quack," said Mistress Chatterbox, as a punishment to her talkativeness during the class. The class roared. I had to laugh too, though I had nearly exhausted my ingenuity on the topic of chatterboxes. It was time to come up with something else, something original. My friend, Sanning, who is good at poetry, offered to help me write the essay from beginning to end in verse, and I jumped for joy. Mr. Keesing was trying to play a joke on me with this ridiculous subject, but I had made sure that joke was on him. So when Mr. Keesing had given the topic, the entire class laughed a lot along with Annie. And Annie thought, she had finished all her points to convince Mr. Keesing that she was not generally a chatterbox. She inherited all those traits and it's a student's right. She used all her knowledge on chatterbox. Now she doesn't have any kind of reasons, but she thought she has to come up with something different, something original which can convince Mr. Keesing on this. And this time she took help of her friend Sani. Sani was very good at poetry, and she offered her that she would convert the essay in poetry. So topic points would be given by Annie, and Sani would present it in a poetic way. And Annie has strongly decided to make fun of Mr. Keesing. I finished my poem and it was beautiful. It was about a mother duck and a father swan with 3 baby ducklings who were bitten to death by the father because they quacked too much. Luckily, Mr. Keesing took the joke the right way. He read the poem to the class, adding his own comments, and to several other classes as well. Since then, I have been allowed to talk and haven't been assigned any extra homework. On the contrary, Mr. Keesing's always making jokes these days. So she wrote a beautiful poem with her arguments, and the main content of the poem had became that a mother duck and father swan were there with the 3 ducklings. When the baby ducklings were quacking so much, father got angry and he had bitten those 3 ducklings to death. That's the story of the poem. So here Annie presented the father duck as Mr. Keesing, because in the school teachers are the parents. We always learn that school is the second home to every child. So in that second home, teachers are compared to parents. So parents should listen to all students very patiently, carefully, and they should have a lot of patience in order to acknowledge the mischievousness, naughtiness of each and every student. If the teacher doesn't have the patience, it would be difficult for a child to enjoy his childhood and his studies. So Mr. Keesing understood the message, and thankfully and luckily he took the message in a very positive way, and he had read the poem with his own commentary to the class. Not only to that particular class, he read the poem to almost all classes, and also he allowed Annie to speak during the classes, and he never punished her. And on top of that, he also behaving very lovingly to all his students. This is the summary of the lesson.